there is one thing guaranteed about Donald Trump, is that the man is a constant shifting sand of commentary and ideas about his possible policies for running the American government. And let's be fair. There is nothing wrong with one changing their mind in the light of fact and current standards. However, let us be fair in another sense that desires comment from the Donald and his followers. What is there to make of his inconsistencies about taxes? And has he proven to anyone who will listen that he does not understand the American financial system by basically seeking to have the government default on Treasury bonds? You will have an opportunity to weigh in on these subjects and a whole lot more in mere moments at 1-877-Newsmax with Peter Morici. First, let us set the stage and more from John Bachman. John?
Well, Ed, as you well know, any other presidential candidate, if they had some sort of evolution or a flip-flop, especially on something like U.S. debt obligations, well, most folks would consider that a campaign killer. But as you know, that's not the case for Donald Trump, at least not for right now.
I'm putting in a plan, Chuck. I have to negotiate now with senators and congressmen. They're going to want to negotiate.
As Donald Trump tries to zero in on specifics, he's also facing new accusations of flip-flopping on a host of critical economic issues, including taxes.
For the wealthy, I think, frankly, it's going to go up. And you know what? It really should go up.
What do you define as wealthy, by the way?
Somebody like me.
Trump on the Sunday talk shows promising to raise taxes on the wealthy, a much different idea than his original tax plan released earlier in the primary. Then he called for lower tax rates for the top 1%, giving them an average tax cut of more than $1.3 million. The middle class in that original plan only got a tax cut of an average of $2,700.
I've done very well with that.
Next up, the full faith and credit of the United States. Trump is also taking some heat for claiming he could negotiate a better deal on U.S. Treasury bonds and other government debt obligations.
Of course, I was swashbuckling, and it did well for me. That was sort of always interesting to me.
Trump talked about using a similar practice in business, but the move often referred to as a haircut means that investors could get shortchanged. Even if the practice happens in the business world, experts say it's never been done by the federal government. Trump's evolution on these issues could help, as the 2016 presidential election has trended towards populism, but it could also turn off the old guard of the GOP's conservative base. Trump will need both to defeat Hillary, whether he thinks so or not.
Does the party have to be together? Does it have to be unified? I'm very different than everybody else, perhaps, that's ever run for office. I actually don't think so.
Now, Ed, also an important question for Hillary. Can she hit Donald Trump when it comes to flip-flopping on these issues? Maybe, maybe not. There's plenty of ammo on Hillary's evolutions in the past. Trump could target her as well. Ed, back to you.
Tremendous amount of flip-flopping and ammunition. Thanks a lot, John. All right, let's get to business now. Welcome back to veteran economist, syndicated columnist, University of Maryland professor of business, Peter Morici. We're going to talk more about what Donald Trump did, and we're also on your phone calls here. 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-Newsmax, if you want to talk to Peter Morici about everything that we have discussed here. All right, Peter, good to see you again. Let's get to some real money issues here. Early today, Donald Trump said he wanted to clarify some things where he claims he was misrepresented. One was the possibility of defaulting on our debts, which would seem to be unconstitutional. Here's what he said.
If we can buy back government debt at a discount, in other words, if interest rates go up and we can buy bonds back at a discount, if we are liquid enough as a country, we should do that. In other words, we can buy back debt at a discount. People said, I want to go and buy debt and default on debt and have... I mean, these people are crazy. This is the United States government. First of all, you never have to default because you print the money. I hate to tell you, okay? So there's never a default.
All right, we'll talk about the printing of the money here in just a minute, Peter. But here's the things. When Donald Trump says people are crazy, people say that he's crazy when he claims that he wants to put the U.S. through something like bankruptcy. This is a sovereign nation with sovereign debt that is different, and defaulting on the national debt would clearly be unconstitutional. Your take.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the constitutionality of the matter, but the reality is the United States never has to default on its debt because it's denominated in dollars and it can print dollars to pay it off. That might not be something that conservatives like to hear. It is something that liberals are always banking on as they spend more than we have. But the upshot of that is that if we get into that world where, say, our national debt's $30 trillion and people finally start asking to be paid, and we print a lot of money, we'll have inflation, and that will effectively impose a haircut. That's very different, though, than what he's just spoke about. If, for example, right now, with his $17, $18 trillion debt, the Federal Reserve managed to engineer long-term rates up to 4%, the bonds that the Treasury has been selling over the last several years that pay about 2% would be worth less. And the Treasury could reasonably engineer a program where they sell more 4% bonds and buy back those 2% bonds, and the face value of the debt would go down. Corporations do that all the time. It's sound financial management. It doesn't change the amount of interest you pay, but it changes the face value of the debt.
What he's talking about, though, to do from the presidential chair for the national economy, for these haircuts, does this make sense? Does it work?
If you're talking about a wholesale workout, no. If you're talking about re-engineering the debt when interest rates go up, that's a marginal kind of savings. You can do that. He's really changed his position, which is no surprise. Somebody has told him, this is the United States of America. We can't renegotiate our debt with the world without having the global financial system come down. So, all right, I'll come up with another position. And he came up with another position that was far more plausible and much more limited and would not have a major consequence, on the federal budget. The burden of the debt would remain.
I have a quick question for Peter Morici, 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-NEWSMAX. What about where he said the U.S. can never default because it prints its own money? It actually had a lot of people that I know who are financial types laughing when he said that.
They shouldn't laugh because it's true. You see, Greece owes its debt in euros and dollars and so forth. It can't print any of that stuff. So it's stuck. The United States owes its debt in dollars. The Japanese government owes its debt in yen. So they can print currency. They're both reserve currency countries. And they can print currency to get out. But in doing that, you do cause inflation. So financial types that laugh at that are really bond traders who don't understand macroeconomics and are just good at derivatives.
I have to tell you something. Bill Maher is not one of my favorites. He makes a lot of statements on his show that, quite frankly, I don't agree with, but many people enjoy what he says. Now, this weekend on HBO, Bill Maher talked about his concerns of what a Trump presidency would do to the stock market. We'll hear him and then come back and get your take. Here we go.
Does it matter to you that Trump is going to crash the markets? Because let me tell you something, what the markets hate. They hate volatility. He is personification of volatility. They hate uncertainty. That's exactly who he is.
He threatened today to default on the U.S. debt.
Exactly. They hate trade wars. They hate debt. He is all those things put together.
30 seconds in, Peter, real quick. We'll grab a couple of phone calls here. Do you believe him? And first of all, he's not an economist. He's a comedian. But when he says that Trump's going to crash the stock market, what's your take?
Well, I think it's as laughable to say that for Bill Maher to make that prediction as it is for me to say, given the right economist, Donald Trump will make all the right moves. He could make all the wrong moves. I doubt that he will. There's a difference between Donald Trump running for president and Donald Trump being president. If you think you're on a fool's journey, then you have to be following a fool.
As with everybody.
Trump is no fool.
As with everybody, when you get in, things change, always. Real quick calls here. Kathy from New Jersey, you have 30 seconds with Peter Morici. Go ahead and welcome to the Hard Line.
No, I really appreciate the comments he made. I believe that Mr. Trump is a man of his word, but yet at the same time, too, I appreciate the fact that he's open to suggestions from top people, and I hope that he adds you to one of his advisors because of the fact of what you've said. I trust your opinion, and
So, Peter, let me go there from there. Peter, if you are offered a cabinet position, will you accept? Let's just get this out of the way right now.
Well, I think if I'm offered Secretary of the Treasury and the opportunity to fix the yawn problem, I'd jump at it.
I think you'd be a good one to jump at it, too. All right, Kathy, thanks a lot. 30 seconds left. Elliot from Fremont, California. You're on with Peter Morici on the Hard Line. Elliot, go ahead.
Oh, hi. So the Democrats have been beating up the Republicans on the minimum wage issue and many others. What Donald Trump's done is taken the issue off the table.
Well, but he didn't really take it off the table. He said leave it to the states. That's after he flip-flopped when he said low would be a bad thing for the country. Now he says high. 15 seconds. Peter, what do you think of that flip? Is it really that from Donald Trump?
I think that the minimum, it is a flip, but I think the minimum wage would wisely be set by the states if we could get them to all of them to do it, because economic conditions vary. I'm in favor of setting the minimum wage at 40% of the average wage nationally, but adjusting it to each county's wage. So if the wage in Montgomery County, Alabama, the average wage is $12, you take 40% of that.
And we got to go because we're all out of time on that. But, Peter, I think we got a new job for you. Stay with us. The Hard Line continues.